Since Man of Steel in 2013, DCU movies have always been a bit of a love it or hate it deal. Some say they're insulting to their source material, while others actually enjoy the dark overtones. But regardless of whether you love them or hate them, they make money. And now we have this. Some people are loving it, some people are hating it, but I decided to go in with an open mind, and here's what I think. I actually thought it was okay. Undeniably flawed and could have been much better, but still quite fun. Let me start off by telling you what I thought the saving grace of this movie was. The characters. They actually work off each other, not just for comedy, but they actually have a sense of camaraderie with each other. They feel like a team, which is how it should be. They also fix up one of the biggest problems that people have had with the previous DC movies, which was the character likability. They thankfully cut down on the brooding dialogue and over-reliance on dark themes. They didn't do away with it entirely, but for the most part, this is a movie where the heroes are here to be the heroes. So, while the characters are strong enough to hold the movie up, everything else is just kind of average. The villain is an evil general from space who comes down to Earth to collect these 3 boxes, and they'll allow him to transform Earth into his homeworld. And really, that's kind of all there is to him. He's honestly just an evil villain who wants to take over the world. Nothing about him sets him apart from any of the other villains who want to take over the world. Also, you've probably heard by now that Zack Snyder's daughter sadly died, and because of that he had to leave the project. And then after that, Joss Whedon took over. The problem there is that Snyder and Whedon are polar opposites to each other, and because of that, the movie comes off as tonally inconsistent. Some of the jokes are actually quite funny, but then you got ones that just kind of fall flat. And on top of that, they also kind of clash with some of the scenes that they're put in. Like, maybe that joke could have been funny if the timing was better, but it wasn't. So while there wasn't that one big flaw that brought down the entire experience for me, there were lots of little flaws that did break up the experience. And speaking of immersion breaking, I've got to talk about this. This movie has one of the most awkward uses of CGI since Moff Tarkin from Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. Henry Cavill, the actor who plays Superman in these movies, is going to be in the new Mission Impossible movie, and in that movie he has a beard and a mustache. He was also filming the movie around the same time as Justice League and had to switch between the two movies. And so it's because of that they had to CGI his beard out. It's not quite as bad as Moff Tarkin from Rogue One, but it is still pretty distracting. Like, that actually is Henry Cavill there playing Superman, but it's so distracting when the upper half of his face is flesh and blood, and the lower half of his face looks like rubber. It's just kind of awkward. But to sum up, it actually was still pretty fun watching all of these characters come together and fight evil, despite all the movie's flaws. In fact, to tell you the truth, I think that's what the biggest disappointment is, that it's not the grandiose epic you'd want it to be. So what we essentially have is a Justice League movie. It's not a bad one, but it's not the Justice League movie. In fact, to tell you the truth, this is something I'm beginning to hate about the shared universe formats. You need to cut out certain things in your movies, or just simply not have them in your movies, because you need to save them for the future movies. And yes, I did check Zack Snyder's IMDb profile. There will be a Justice League 2. Hopefully this one will have Darkseid in it. So overall, Justice League is a bit of a mixed bag. Good, but not great.